today is a new day. Hopefully nothing bad happened to you on the day off for the Guardians. Hopefully everyone had a good off day and didn't think about the Guardians because maybe they don't deserve you to think about them. Maybe it's best not to think about them, but you're back and you're listening to us. We appreciate that again. Nothing in today's episode is going to hurt you. This is a safe place. We might have one discussion about a player and some interesting comments about his future, but it's Around the Farm Friday, the MLB Draft segment of the week, and it is your question. So this is a safe place. We might get into one touchy, harmful subject, so just stay in your seat. It's going to be okay. The rest of this episode is not going to hurt you. Not yet, anyway.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I want to thank you for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day wherever it is you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. Stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions. Manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/LockedOnMLB. Over there is Justin. I am Jeff. We don't got time for anything more. McKenzie, rehab, go.
All right, we're gonna do this very fast and furious. We have a lot to get to. Triston McKenzie rehabbed in Columbus tonight. He threw, I believe, 68 pitches, so he's still got a little bit of build up to go, but he was up to 97 almost, 96.5 on the radar gun and StatCast. Pretty good outing overall for him, 6 strikeouts. Don't know what the next step is, but I heard he looked pretty good and fluid. He looks like he is ready to return, and don't know if he's going to be making his next start with the Guardians, but I would imagine he'll get one more start down in AAA because they got time with him, and Gaddis is going again, but all signs right now good for Triston McKenzie on his rehab. He's throwing 3 of his primaries, no changeups, which, he hasn't really had a changeup. That's okay. Everything looks good, which is good news. So, again, good news. Jeff, are you ready for the slightly triggering news? This is going to... Ahmed
Rosario is triggering just by his name.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Everyone's triggered.
So I'm going to start off with the first thing I read today, which is Nino Serra's piece that talked about 7 hitters that are struggling and what's going on. He goes in depth in it. It's over on The Athletic on Andres Jimenez. I definitely say it's worth your time. But I noticed when he's listing the players that had the biggest increase in strikeout percentages, number 3 on the list was Amed Rosario. He is striking out a lot. Number 1 is Trea Turner. So, hey, there's that. He's getting booed at home. Again, we get upset about Josh Bell, but Turner and Abreu make it look like a good signing because at least Bell's close to average.
Thanks.
But here's the interesting thing. You can find the tweet I posted, but last year, his strikeout percentage in April was 18.5%. In May, it was 11.1. June, 14.3. It peaked at 22 in August. And, those higher ones, you also see the lower walk rate. But you get the point. He only had 1 month over 20% all of last year to just show how big this jump is. March and April, he was at 27%. That's 5% higher than a year ago. May, 23.5%. That would have been higher than any month a year ago. And this is when we're saying he's getting better. First half, 25.4. Last year, his first half was 15. His second half was 18. He is striking out at a much higher rate. And his walk rate is up as well. So I don't know if it's, a general, taking more pitches. This team seems to be a little more, but this seems like some passivity. And again, when you are literally the last 2 years, the worst shortstop defensively by outs above average. In the offseason, I compared him to JP Crawford. I don't think that's fair because Crawford is a gold glove guy. He actually probably brings more value, even though he's a lesser hitter. Amed Rosario, I originally said he's probably the 14th best shortstop in baseball. He might be closer to 20. This might be a Jose Iglesias in reverse situation. But even his biggest supporters seem to be backing off of him right now. And that's something we have to mention.
Yeah, this kind of came up late. If you haven't seen, looks like our good friend of the show, Andre Knott, who also works for 850 ESPN Cleveland, was talking to the guys there. And, they were talking about the Ahmed Rosario situation, which, hey, kudos. A radio station in town is talking about baseball. It's about time. It's all because they have Andre on, let's be honest. Mm-hmm. But he had said, it kind of if he doesn't start producing, there could be some. He's not. I don't want to twist Andre's words. You should go find the tweet on ESPN Cleveland because they posted the clip. But basically, it was if things continue in this direction, it could happen. You could see some changes, and I don't know.
He was the biggest Andre. I mean, you know, a year ago he was saying, you know, they should give him an extension. He was saying, you know, no one's like people got really mad. Like he was the one leading the charge to give the extension. He was the one who talks, and he even talks about in that piece, like his value as a base runner, but that like things might have to change. Like for him to even be somewhat unsupportive is a pretty drastic change.
It is. I don't think it's him being unsupportive. I think it's him just taking the temperature of the team because he talks to these guys and he's around, so he knows the conversations. And he also did point out, I think, something that we said yesterday, is that, you know, there you have to be careful about how you do that because it's a clubhouse thing and it is a culture thing, and you're managing human beings, and the people in the clubhouse do respect Rosario for better or for worse. That's the issue with this team, though, is that, you know, remember Jason Kipnis kind of set Twitter ablaze between Cleveland and New York with that whole leadership thing. Who does this team have a leader from? Like, yeah, Shane Bieber might be the leader of the pitching staff, but he's not really a, you know, guy where you're like, okay, he's won all this stuff. Like, you know, 2016 you had Mike Napoli, right? And Corey Kluber won some awards, and Mike Napoli had won a World Series. This team doesn't really have that. Jose and Bieber are kind of leaders by example in the work they do, but they don't have a voice leader. And I don't know if Amed is that.
Jose and Amed combined were the leader, right? Like some of the stuff we heard when Andre was on about like them backing up Gabby, working with some of the younger players. So,
and that's why this is tricky. And I don't think he's saying like, oh, Ahmed's going to be benched or he's going to be cut. I think it's going to be Freeman's going to start maybe getting 1 or 2 starts a week. I don't think, because you can't bring Rocchio up and you can't just have Rocchio, Freeman, and Rosario on the 40-man roster along with Arias. So it's going to be, you know, Freeman gets a few more starts a week first and then see how that goes. And if Rosario doesn't kind of pull it back together, who knows? But I think it's just interesting, you know, because he said there is a delicate way you have to do this if you're going to do this. And they realize that it's time to maybe, you know, at least start moving in a different direction.
It feels like a lot of people don't like think about it like it's real life. Like they think about it in terms, and I've been guilty of this in terms of fantasy, where it's like, listen, if you have a job and you get along with your coworkers and your friends and it is a great environment, you do better work. You feel more comfortable. You're more laid back. You're less likely to press. And I know we've talked, it does view like guys are pressing, but all of a sudden your best friend gets traded out from under you. You're probably not going to be as happy. You may not perform as well. That stuff matters as much as people want to be like, they make millions. It doesn't matter. They're still people.
Right. Yeah. The psychology part doesn't go away. Like guys go through divorces and that affects them. They have real life issues going on outside of baseball, even if money isn't part of their stress. There are other things. Look at Kevin Love. Kevin Love is a great example of that. Mm-hmm. All the money in the world, you know, popular dude, gorgeous wife, still
gorgeous man.
Yeah, good looking dude. Still, you know, it happens to everybody. That's a different story.
You know, and he's from a rich and powerful family. Like, I mean, he is the guy where you're like, hey, he's had it to him his whole life, right? You know, he's related to a beach boy.
No. That's the whole mental health thing is a different scenario here, but it still shows these are people who are dealing with real life.
No matter who you are, there's stuff.
Yeah, and keeping the clubhouse is important in this delicate scenario where things aren't going good. It's young. They're young and they're struggling. So keeping the clubhouse is important. And that is then because of all the things we see that people have discourse with over Tito's decisions on the field, the clubhouse is the one area where he excels at. And this becomes part of it, this Rosario thing. So it's a delicate situation, but maybe Andre saying that to me doesn't feel like it is. I hate to be speculative and put words in his mouth, but it just feels like saying that is at least the temperature of the team right now.
It's the first negative comment I've heard him make.
I don't think it was even negative.
It's not even negative, but it's not. It's the first.
Like I said, I think he is just giving them the temperature of the club.
No, I agree. I agree. I'm not. You know, I'm not trying to say like, you know, he's saying he's drunk. It's the first. He is, like I said, he has been maybe the biggest Amed fan, the most effusive guy when it comes to him, and for him to say anything other than he'll be fine is something that stands out to me.
And again, I don't think it's even. I think it's just he hears and sees how these guys interact with him and the influence he's had in that clubhouse. So I think that's why he says he understands the importance he's had there. So it's not even, I don't know if it's even being a fan. I think he's a fan because Rosario's a good dude. Like he does go down.
Everyone likes him. Yeah,
he goes down to his hometown and does stuff for charity and he's very good at that stuff. So I think everybody does like him and he plays hard. So I think it's just, you know, he realizes what the locker room what he means in the locker room. He's trying to give an honest picture of that. Okay, we've got Around the Farm Friday coming up. Some really good news on the injury front. Instead of bad news, they have good news for you for a change. Jeff's got some interesting players we're going to talk about. One from Ohio, one catcher I will not let him forget about, and then we've got all your questions coming up. So stick around because it's going to be a jam-packed episode.
Bird dogs are back, and that makes me happy. Why? I said I was wearing mine yesterday, and I didn't lie. I did actually go over and fall asleep with my bird dogs. I was just reading, fell asleep, so comfortable. They can be pajama pants. Just used them to go bowling.
Go on vacation with me.
School. I mean, these are my favorite shorts. These are my favorite shorts right now. They're just comfortable, and they're light, and they're the perfect shorts for summer. I am very tempted to get it's not just shorts too. Like they do long pants. I might have long pants. That's what my student told me he used to call pants, long sleeve pants, when he was little. So
they do long sleeve pants. There you go.
Long sleeve pants. They do long sleeve pants as well. Or as just normal pants. But go to Bird Dogs today, because I also use the thermos that is currently sitting in my little micro fridge at work, chilling, so I can put some cold drinks in it tomorrow at work, coconut water, before someone gets worried about what I'm drinking during the school day. But go to birddogs.com/lockedon, enter the promo code LockedOnMLB, and you get that free custom Bird Dogs Eddie style tumbler for every order. I love the tumbler. I love the pants. I'm debating getting a pair of long ones. They're a little pricier, won't lie, but you're paying for fantastic quality, and better pay for quality than skim for lesser quality, because look what happened to the Guardians in free agency. I'm done.
Friday night, the Guardians are back on Sirius XM. Tom Hamilton and Jim Rosenhaus have the call. Search Guardians on your Sirius XM app. Okay, let's do some around. I am just gonna totally ignore it. You said that. Yeah, we said this was going to be a painful episode, Jeff, and you lied. You ruined it.
No, people it's a good joke for people who
throwing
things. The ads.
They're throwing tomatoes at you.
No, I think people are liking that. I think I can read the room. The room likes that joke. I guarantee. Comment below if that was a good one.
You promised a safe space tonight, or I did. I guess you ruined my promise.
I made no promises.
All right, I promise. I didn't say it. So if you're mad at somebody, you got triggered by something, it's Jeff. Okay. We have good news for you on the injury front. Chase DeLauter played in a extended spring training game today. I did tweet the news. That was from Jerry Espinoza, who covers the Arizona complex area. Does some pictures, good work there. And DeLauter got a single and double. That's the guy you really care about. So Chase DeLauter's playing in games. That's great news. Hopefully sometime next month he will be at an affiliate. We don't know where. I'm guessing Lynchburg for at least a brief time. We will see. Alexfri Planez, you might have forgot about him. He's an extreme version of Oscar Gonzalez, but I do kind of like some of the tools he has as well.
Fans. He's always had a lot of fans.
Which is funny because I was never big on Gonzalez, but I still have some faith in Planez anyway. He played in that game as well, and Angel Genao is also going to be playing in games here soon. All good news for some Guardians hitting prospects. Thank goodness. Some guys that we have to see some promise on. So, feel good about that here on Friday going into a long weekend, hopefully, if you're working on Monday. I'm sorry. But here's another quick thing I'm going to save this for the end. Let's see if I even get to it. Johnathan Rodriguez, speaking of guys with aggressive swings, swing and miss, and power, similar profile to Oscar Gonzalez and Alexfri Planez. I have not been a big Johnathan Rodriguez guy. He's not a good outfielder. He's got a great arm. He's a bad fielder in right field. The arm is great. The power is prodigious, raw wise. He doesn't get into a lot in games because he has, but he could get to more because he has great raw power. The hit tool stinks. But over the last, what are we looking at here? 65 at bats. We have 4 homers, 13 RBIs, 18 strikeouts, 8 walks, which is good over the last 19 games. Strikeout rate the last couple games during that stretch is 23%, 10.5% walk rate. That's good. That's good for him. The season stats overall, not the prettiest. 254, 348, 396, but his strikeout rate in AA so far is down from last year. So he got to AA last year and played 28 games. 38% strikeout rate, 18% swinging strike rate. Right now, through 38 games, it's 25 and 14.1. So, and he's walking. So improvements there. Like to see that. the bat has to play for him because, like I said, there's no defense, there's no speed. It's all arm and power. But, it's improvements. And he's 23, so, take that with a grain of salt too. But give him his due. Gavin Williams, I really want to touch on this real quick. I had a conversation with one of your former co-hosts, Pat Ellington, on the Guardians of the Future podcast last week. Gavin Williams is very, very fastball heavy. He doesn't really throw his secondaries a lot. And there are guys at the major league level who can get away with that. Garrett Cole is one of them. Currently, Bryce Miller with the Mariners is doing that very well because he has an elite fastball that gets above barrels and it doesn't matter. I'm kind of wondering, and Spencer Strider is a good example of this too. He is fastball slider. I know he's introduced up this year. That guy,
he's a 2-pitch guy. Strider,
really, the team has been okay for him this year, but 2-pitch guy, also former Guardians draft pick or Cleveland draft pick. Anyway,
in the 20s though, they never had a chance.
Yeah, it was late. It was
so don't get mad. That was the one they let get away.
Yeah, it was really late. But there are certain guys who can pull that off. You have to have a very elite fastball to do it. I just wonder, with how many hitters in the major leagues that are geared up for fastballs, how that plays out for him. Because let's see what happens on a day where he doesn't have great fastball command, right? If that's his primary and he doesn't have fastball command, does he have enough with his secondaries to offset that at the major league level? And to me, that's what separates a guy who might be a number 2 or number 3 from an ace. And that's why I think I had with you, Bibee, Espino, and Williams, and as far as pitchers. Did you have Williams above Espino, or was it Espino Williams?
I went Espino Williams just due to ceiling.
So
and Williams had severe injury concerns. He, much like Espino, I knew by reports from people I trust, there were teams who would not draft Gavin Williams because of the injury.
So far, he's been healthy. So so far, you don't have to really talk about that, thankfully.
Yeah.
But
we didn't with Espino for the first 2-3 years.
That's true. No, that's fair. At least Williams already reached AAA when he wasn't high school arm. But that to me is the separator. Is if he doesn't have fastball command on any given day, are his secondary is good enough to survive? And that's the question we have to find out with him, because right now at AAA, his fastball is so good and it blows hitters away. It doesn't matter. The major league level, they're going to know that, and it can work. I'm not saying it's not. I mean, it probably will work with him. The fastball is good. Just you always wonder when there's a day he doesn't have it or something. Guys will eventually adjust, like Bryce Miller and Spencer Strider. I don't know if Gavin Williams' slider is as good as Spencer Strider's, but we're going to find out.
That's probably a top 5 slider in baseball. So
that's what I mean. But if you're going to be a 2-pitch pitcher, that's what it has to be, right? You have to be Spencer Strider if you're a 2-pitch pitcher. Otherwise, and that's what I'm saying, that could separate him from being a 2 or 3 from an ace. That could be the separator. So he could be a 2 or 3, but Strider's an ace, and that's because his slider is a top 5 pitch, and he can use it when his fastball. He can't use his fastball. Okay, so interesting. I thought to bring up there. I like that conversation. Tyler Thornton deserves some due. 22-year-old reliever from the 2022 draft class, or was that 2021? It was 2021. He is kicking some butt down in Lake County, a 17.6% swinging strike rate. That is behind only Gavin Williams and AA reliever Randy Labout, who's 26. I know not really a prospect, but so he is Gavin Williams' strikeout rate, or I should say swinging strike rate, is 17.8. So Thornton is 17.6. Kid is on a roll right now. Fastball is about 90 to 95. It's typically more 91, 93 for the most part. He's got a good slider. He's got a very, very low release. It's very deceptive. He turns his back to the hitters. I'd like to see him get AA. It's a very funky delivery, but he is missing tons of bats. Excited about him. Another reliever I think we should give some due to is Michael Kelly, who is not a prospect, but he's 30 years old, and over the last couple of games now, the walks are an issue for him. So he's got 13 walks in 22 innings pitched, but he has 36 strikeouts. And I went back, and because we have Savant data now on these AAA guys, he is throwing 94 to 97 with the fastball, and he's got a good slider. And both the fastball and the slider, if these are I think these might be off, because this says the RPMs on his fastball ranged from 90 to 3,400. So I'm going to say that wasn't accurate, but
both of those seem wrong. That seems like just the highest possible and the lowest possible. I do want to point out my interruption here. When you're thinking about this, it makes me think, and maybe other people, of Eniel De Los Santos, who was a non-roster invitee to camp, who was brought up. I think he was brought up in May a year ago. I could be wrong. It feels like it was a little bit earlier than that. Maybe even it was in April. Michael Kelly also comes from the Phillies. And, we know that's not a great developmental spot. It's not, they've had to sign almost every pitcher externally. Listen, Andrew Painter is great, but Micah Bell has not quite been as good as I think
Griff
people thought he'd
McGarry.
be.
Griff
Griff McGarry has been a good developmental story, yes. But, some of these older guys, you're maybe looking for guys from organizations that historically have not done a good job. And not that I don't even think
like
Michael
Florida.
Kelly. Yeah, I don't think Michael Kelly started there, but I think that's where he pitched last year. So it was just an interesting line to draw.
Yeah. So he's missing some bats though. The spin rate is probably pretty good, even if that's not accurate. I doubt it's that far off, but
If it's 3,400, he should be in the bigs right now. Let me put that.
No, I said it was 3,400. I'm sorry. It was 3,400. It wasn't 7,400.
No, I said 34.
Oh,
I said
okay.
74 by accident. I might not be speaking clearly. Again, this is coffee, I swear.
It's
going
coffee.
back to
Yeah. Either way, the stuff is interesting, and I think the velocity probably is accurate. I'm gonna pull up while we're trying to record this live and move on to our next segment. I'm gonna try to pull it up and see if I can find another clip here.
Why don't we run to break while you check on that, and we can come back around, finish this up, and I can talk about a local kid for the
Let's do
draft
it.
who's got some fun stuff.
Rocket Money. Let me tell you how to use Rocket Money. If you are considering canceling one, or you would like to cancel one of your subscriptions, if you are paying too much, if you have subscriptions to random streaming services you don't know, Disney is taking down a bunch of content today. Maybe you want to get rid of Disney. Well, Rocket Money.
Willow.
Yeah, Rocket Money can help you do that. It is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, helps you lower your bills all in one place. So if you want to get rid of one of those subscriptions and you don't even know where to start, how many you might have, maybe you missed a free trial that you meant to cancel like I did earlier this week, stop throwing your money away, cancel those subscriptions, manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/LockedOnMLB. That's rocketmoney.com/LockedOnMLB, rocketmoney.com/LockedOnMLB. I found the spin rate data. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. You go first.
I found the spin rate data. So I went to another one of his outings. The fastball is between the other outing was about 2,000 to 29. So there is a big range, looks like, on his RPMs for his fastball. He was in the average of 2,200, but the slider spin rate was an average of 2,600, which is really good for a slider. So at least for a reliever, it's not elite, but it's good. So, interesting stuff there for Michael Kelly.
No, so time for the draft segment. Let's start with Joe Whitman from Kent State, who's a guy who I hadn't been on as much of because I kind of got my early reports on him. It's like he's a reliever, but let's dive a little more deeply on that. I was texting Justin a lot of her, DMing him a lot of info. He's interesting. He went to Hudson High School, pitched all of 5 innings at Purdue his first 2 years. Goes to Kent State, gets his first opportunity, is the MAC pitcher of the year, is a lefty. There's a little bit of violence. I mean, everything I read about him was like violent delivery. It's not like when I think of that, I think of a much more violent delivery than his. There's definitely some head movement and some things in there. But he is, I'm burying the lead. He's 6'5", 200 pounds, hits 97, has been pitching for a year at the college level. And here's the thing with Kent State. I can't really think of a hitter out of Kent State that's been hyper successful. I know someone will correct me here. Maybe Brooks Raley, I think, is one of the recent ones, right? Luke Raley. Wrong Raley. Luke is the hitter, right? I having a confusing moment. But they haven't had a ton of hitters find success, but they are Mike Birkbeck, their greatest Akron Zip of all time, is their pitching coach, and he is a top 5 pitching coach in college baseball. He develops pitchers well. Kent State has had more successful big leaguers than Virginia, than Florida, I think than Vanderbilt. Like Vandy has not had a hitter outside of Dansby Swanson. Their second best hitter is Pedro Alvarez. And again, that's just hitters. They've had some pitchers, but it's also not as good of a list as you might think. The Vandy pitching factory isn't quite the pitching factory. So it's interesting to go look at Kent, a small program, and be like, in terms of like guys to the majors, they're, Lauer, Taylor Williams in recent years, maybe the peaks aren't as high, but they're also not getting the high peak recruits. So Whitman is just fascinating. You could maybe try to clean up the delivery some more because it's only been 1 year. He's got growth. Again, he's 97 with a plus slider as well. That's, I think, getting up to, you said what, 2,600 for, I wanted to say like 27, 28 for Whitman. I'd have to go look at the notes there, but his slider data was absolutely off the charts. So he's kind of a 2-pitch guy, but it's a sweeper. It's a really good one. We talk about how more and more guys can be successful with 2 pitches. He's probably still likely a reliever. But yeah, 2,700 spin on the slider, 2,300 spin on the fastball. And you can go look at that. Burke Grange, who's great, had that data. He's got a radar gun that does spin as well, which is pretty cool. But yeah, Hudson High School kid said his favorite stadium to play at is Canal Park when he was a kid. My pen, comment below. This is a lightsaber. Whose lightsaber is that? His favorite TV show is The Clone Wars, for you and I with our Star Wars stuff. Got to give him bonus points for that.
The Guardians got to draft him so we can have him on the podcast.
Yeah, and just talk. We can do a Star Wars only podcast. And it's just interesting, like looking at all of it. His dad was played at Purdue, so that explains why he went to Purdue. Mom was a college professor up here in Wisconsin for a time, but he's and like I said, to me, what stands out is he threw 2 innings and 3 innings in 21 and 22. I didn't see any write-up on injury. Kent doesn't have an in-depth profile, so maybe there was, but he's come out and just demolished guys. And there is some walks in there, but you're getting a junior lefty hitting 97 with a plus slider who has more development than just about any junior in this class. And then our other guy is the person I think Justin wants the Guardians to take no matter what. Steal the line from that Draft Day movie, Jack Payton, no matter what, right?
Never saw that.
Never, wasn't it like Vontae Mack, no matter what? I think good. That was late great. I'm having a brain fart moment. Actor who played Black Panther and Jackie Robinson, and people are screaming at me right now.
Never saw the movie. I know who you're talking about though.
Who passed away, unfortunately. But that's not to do with baseball. Jack Payton is the brother of Mark Payton, who is another former Guardians draft pick, but he was a junior they didn't sign, who has had a cup of coffee here and there in the big leagues. Mark Payton previously had the longest reach base record in college baseball. We talked about in a show this year how that got broken. He is going to probably be his brother is going to be Mark is probably going to go in the College Baseball Hall of Fame at some point after bouncing around. He's bigger than his brother, has more pop than his brother. Louisville has been catcher factory U. The catcher crop.
This is why I want him.
Yeah, the catcher crop in this class is the worst I've ever seen. You got Blake Stitton, where if you want to take the risk on the prep catcher, good luck to you. And there's always or Blake Mitchell from Stitton. You're right.
Oh yeah,
put his high school there. And then you got Kyle Teal, who's probably like, if he's not
the crop,
slowly moving him up into like that second tier of talent. And after that, kind of grab bag of who you like, kind of like the kid Michael Caraco from Davidson, who's been hurt. But there's a chance after those first 2 that we may not see another catcher until the 3rd, 4th round. And Peyton's he's been highly productive throughout his college baseball career, which is all of 1 year. So let's be honest, he did split time last year.
With Dalton rushing, come on, what are you going to do?
Well, and they had Metzger, who started the year catching before he moved to third base, who performed really well. And I still Ben Metzger was that guy's name. But if you're curious, 374, 472, 642, 10% walk, 19% strikeout. He has 12 home runs. That's a lot of little things. Cape Cod, it was limited to 33 at bats, but 941 OPS. So if you saw him at the right time, and Louisville develops catchers well, like that.
Sub 2 pop time too.
Yeah,
sub 2 pop time.
And let's see, he was 2000, so he'll be turning 22 this summer. So he's a little bit old for a junior.
That's fine. I'll take the money. That means
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, he might have been draft eligible a year ago. Interestingly enough,
he didn't
but
play,
I mean, he didn't really play a ton.
Take
But
the money.
yeah,
Guardians draft him. Give him the money. Jack.
Yeah,
take the money.
you got to like on top of just bloodlines, performance, college. Remember my younger brother theory? Like he's the younger brother, right? Like
his dad also played in the minors, correct?
Yes. Yeah, he's from a full on baseball family.
Let's do it.
I've had that whole thing, and I've starting to have the data to back it up. That yes, younger brothers tend to be better than the older brothers.
Somebody call Scott Barnesby. Let him know. Jack Payton. If you got Scott's number, send him a quick text.
Send him a text, and then ask him to be on the show.
Yeah, but we might be able to do it after the draft.
Yeah, we could actually probably reach out. We got some minor connections, but yeah, he's interesting. Like if you want to argue for him to be the third catcher off the board, I wouldn't fight him. Fight John. It's a real weak group this year, and he is an interesting guy who doesn't have quite as much run, but that could be to someone's benefit. And he's a righty in terms of what he is back there. So I know I said we talk college outfielders. I have them saved up in here. I'll tell you next time. Travis Honeyman, Jace Bohefren, Chase Davis. We're going to talk about them and why Travis Honeyman in that group is really someone to watch out for the Cleveland Guardians. But that's my tease for our next discussion. Mailbag is going to continue into the YouTube only portion of the show. We got to do the hard cutoff here at this point in time. So if you want to listen to Mailbag questions, jump over to YouTube. We want to thank you all for rating and reviewing, for downloading. That helps. Doing your part. We just passed 1,500 subscribers on YouTube. So thank you all for that. It's nice to hit those those numbers.
Yeah, and don't forget SiriusXM on Friday night too, as well. Yes. Guardians and Cardinals 710. Search for the Guardians on your SiriusXM app and listen to the hometown call of Tom Hamilton and Jim Rosenhaus.
And again, thank you for being part of the Locked On Guardians team. My David Lane is the everydayer from England who was commenting on yesterday's show. And we'll get to your questions, so make sure to go over to YouTube.
About 32 minutes.
And we're going to go deep on this one. So thank you again, and go Guardians, go.
All right, so you want to save your college outfielders and the guy from Miami for next week?
Yes. I think that's good to save them up. Go into all of it. We still got so many questions that I think, so just if you're curious, I have those three outfielders, Mitch Jubb, shortstop, Michigan State, and Andrew Walters, right-handed pitcher, Miami, are the next five guys I would like to talk about and why they all make varying degrees of sense or no sense. But those are the ones. If there's someone else I have not mentioned, or there's someone you'd like me to circle back to, please comment below. And I'll spend some time. I'm going to be writing primarily over at Prospects Live. We've never done a formal announcement. Maybe I'll just tweet out tomorrow and see if the Prospects Live team announces it. But I was just like, I don't have the time to sit down and power out articles, and I'm nowhere near where I can see them. So a lot of the blurbs over there, if you enjoyed my writing, my descriptions, I'm going to be doing a ton of the blurbage on players. I'm going to go through and be the write-up guy for a lot of that. Not the only one, Tyler and a bunch of other guys do fantastic work, but that's going to be my gig.
Can't wait to read it. Okay. You ready for questions?
I'm ready. Rapid fire.
All right.
That was too loud. First, I apologize.
We have Mike Mahoney, one of our everydayers as well.
Yeah.
In Lake County. This is actually a compliment more than a question. He want to know how hard it is to do the show every day when this team is playing like this. So thanks for putting in the effort and producing a quality show. It never feels like a repeat, even though the Guardians continue to play the same way. How many days have we logged on, Jeff, and we're like, "Ooh, I don't know if I can do this again." I don't know.
And then we always go 40 minutes.
I know. We always start planning for the podcast. We're like, "There's nothing to talk about. This team's doing the same garbage every day," and then 48 minutes later, we're done. Yeah. No, I appreciate you guys listening, even though this team is incredibly frustrating. I think it's better to be angry. And I mean, if you're not going to be a good team, that's more fun. Let's be honest. But at least people aren't apathetic. I would be worried if people are apathetic. That would be my concern. So people seem to be at least upset and angry, which at least it shows you care. I don't know. Show some emotion. Maybe that's the Guardians. And
it's hard. Emotion. I'm not going to lie. There are definitely days I was more excited for today. I was like, why am I so excited for today's show? And it's
I was too.
There's nothing hanging over it.
Right. There's no bad
we got
news,
to come in and
loss.
it's been so much negativity. It's it's anxiety and then it's negativity. And then today it was just we get to come in and talk about things you and I like talking about. And there's nothing hanging over this one.
Right. It's a more exciting episode because again, prospects haven't broken your heart yet. College players haven't failed yet. It's the backup quarterback thing.
Yes.
Jeff, not you, Jeff, but another Jeff, wants to know what we've noticed or heard about Jack Leftwich's struggles at Double-A this year. I've watched a fair amount of Jack. I shouldn't say all of them, but I've watched several innings of Jack Leftwich this year, and I think really nothing has been bad about him. Like, yeah, the ERA is bad, the FIP is bad. It's really because he has allowed some dingers. He's allowed 5 in 21 innings, 24 hits. He's missing a bat per inning, and he's only walked 8. So I'm not super concerned. I think it's just a lack of command for him in terms of he's still throwing strikes, but he's just hitting. He's over the plate a lot. Okay, the fastball's in the zone.
His command is not as strong this year as it was last year.
Yeah, it's
like when you see the hit rate over 10 and the home run rate over 2, you're like, yikes. So he's just got to sit down with the coaches and figure out what's going wrong with command. And again, it's 5-6 starts. So it could also just
he's been
a bad month
too. He has not been a full. He's been piggybacking with Doug Nikhazy, which, by the way, Doug Nikhazy last night. So this man is he's talking about frustrating. I'm going to frustrate everybody with this. So Doug Nikhazy followed Cody Morris in his rehab outing, and he pitched 4 innings where he struck out 10 batters. No walks, Jeff. No walks. And then the 5th inning of his start behind Morris came, and the wheels fell off. He still didn't walk anybody. He gave up a couple home runs, or a home run. He gave a couple doubles to Heston Kierstad. He gave up a big, I think Kobe Mayo hit the home run off him, but he was great for 4 innings. The 5th inning came around, and it just went to crap. So still love my guy, Doug Nikhazy. I like Jack Leftwich too, but I think for Leftwich, though, it's just more about keeping the fastball out of the fat part of the zone. I think he's still working on that changeup too. The changeup's not great yet, and that's also leaking a little bit over the plate, I've noticed. So, he just has to figure out how to locate his pitches a little bit. I still think there's a good chance that Leftwich has a lot of relief risk. I hope not. I'd like to see him continue as a starter, but I thought he would have been a reliever last year. But they decided to give him a chance to start, and I think it's worth keeping on, even though he's going to be 25 by the year end. So
I think he forced that, like, in a way. Like, his performance last year forced them to consider him.
That going. Yeah, the home run rate wasn't as bad. But look, if you're giving up home runs like crazy at the low A level and the high A level, that's not great. Double A is when you start to kind of see that creep up if you have issues. So that is something to keep an eye on to see if he does have a gopher ball problem. All right, next up, Zach Heights. And quick shout out to Zach Heights. I know the Heights family is big in Fairport baseball in Northeast Ohio. I'm so disappointed to hear that the Fairport baseball program was discontinued. That has a lot. If you live in Northeast Ohio and you follow high school baseball at all, that field out there in Fairport, always well taken care of by the Heights family and their long reign of coaches out there. And it's always been a great shaping field and a pretty nice program in Northeast Ohio. So I was bummed to hear that they dropped baseball at Fairport. So condolences to that community. A lot of baseball and richness and bowling, 2 of my favorite sports. But Zach wants to know, is Bieber on this team after the deadline? As things stand, I'm going to say no. If things don't turn around, I think for sure he gets traded at the deadline. If they turn it around, no, they won't do it if they think they're in the striking distance. But if they are 4.5 out, which they are right now as we're recording this, if they are 4.5 out, it is July 28th or whatever, 29th. I don't think he's here.
No, he's gone. There's just no point in keeping him when you have the depth and they're not good. If you're not contending, you're not keeping him.
Yeah, no, unfortunately. This is not confirmed, so I'm not going to run with this, but Juan Brito could be going to a different level. We'll see. So Juan Brito could be going to a different level. He may not be. So keep an eye on Juan Brito for the next couple of days. I was going to talk about Juan Brito in my minor league update, but I didn't have time. So keep an eye on Juan Brito. See what happens with him the next few days. All right, guards for
promotion to the majors coming. You heard it from Justin.
God. Well, hey, there could be a chain reaction if Brito is moving up. So we'll see. Not official, but I did hear some rumblings. It could be possible. If it's not today, it could be soon. It should be soon, quite frankly. Knowing how good Sean Murphy has been and what would you have given up knowing he would be this good? I wouldn't have changed what the package should have been for Sean Murphy based on how good he's been. I think you and I both thought how good he was. I wouldn't have traded any of the pitchers, even Espino. I know everyone's like, oh, he would have gotten hurt. You should have traded him. Look, the Oakland Athletics knew the man's shoulder had problems last year. They're not stupid. They may have taken Rosario is playing pretty well. Can't really fault him for that. He's playing pretty well. But they're not stupid. They knew he had shoulder problems last year, and who knows? They could have been one of the teams back in the draft, Jeff, that wouldn't have taken Daniel Espino due to concerns. So maybe they never liked Daniel Espino. So I still would not have traded any of the big three. I would have traded anybody to add Oakland outside of the big three. Valera, Rocchio, Freeman, Brennan, doesn't matter. I would have traded anybody to them besides the three pitching prospects. To get Murphy. So I don't think it would have changed for me.
Yeah, I was never going to want to trade Bybee. I think I was running out there pretty early on him as a difference maker. And you and I were willing to trade Logan Allen, and Logan Allen looks better than anyone they got pitching wise. But I think at the end of the day, it's like it didn't matter unless you're willing to trade like Bybee and Williams or Bybee and Espino. It
wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, and they really wanted Ruiz. And you know what? Ruiz is playing. He would be the Cleveland's number one outfielder right now. Talked about it. He's heads and shoulders. He's got 20 plus steals. I understand why they wanted him. And for Cleveland, you can't get Ruiz out of Milwaukee because they went out and got Contreras and then turned him into a good catcher. I want to steal that coach. Go hire Milwaukee's catching coach because
seriously,
Omar Narvaez trash to solid catcher. Contreras trash to solid catcher.
Grandal was not a good catcher when he got there either.
No, it's amazing. Whoever that dude is, go hire him.
Absolutely. All right. Speaking of Daniel Espino, Zuma Films, this is an interesting philosophical question. If you are Daniel Espino and you are coming off surgery with the knowledge that you can come back 100%, you basically are in line at some point to receive a $200 million contract in your future, would it be worth a 60-game suspension to take a banned substance to help with recovery? That's a good philosophical question, I will say.
I don't think so, because then you got the stink of that on you forever. So if you're going to make a $200 million contract, then you're going to be a potential Hall of Famer. And once you have that stink on you, you can't get it off.
That's true. I think the other thing about that is too, this is a tricky scenario because by this time next year, Espino will still be trying to come back, and he will have missed essentially 2 seasons. So he'll be going on his 3rd season, right? So he missed, for all intents and purposes, he missed all of 2022. He made 4 starts 2022, and he's going to miss all of 2023, and he's going to miss at least the first half of 2024 because they're going to be careful about him coming back. So if you go out and you take a banned substance and you get caught because he didn't ask if you don't get caught, well, I'm guessing he risked it. Would it be worth a 6-game suspension? So you're assuming it gets caught. Then you're talking about, more time missed next year. So you're going on 3 seasons worth of missed baseball. Ethan Hankins just went through that. He is just now coming back. There are no guarantees when that happens. And there are no, there's no guarantee it works 100% recovery. I guess this is hypothetical. It does guarantee 100% recovery, but yeah, you're right. Down the line, you're always going to have that stain on you. But the missed time is very valuable. It could be very dangerous if he misses all that time. And I don't know. I don't know if you can guarantee anything off that. So it's a good philosophical question though, because look, Emmanuel Clase took a banned substance. I don't know if he knew it or whatever, but he was recovering from an injury at the time when that happened. He didn't get a $200 million deal, but he did get, a guaranteed contract from the Guardians that was very team friendly. That might have played into him getting it too, because of the steroid pass too. So, interesting scenario. Good question. Our friend Lamola, he wants to know, what is a realistic return for Shane Bieber that would make you happy? What prospects or now guys would pique your interest? Well, Jeff, I got an interesting one. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
You go first.
I've got an interesting one for you. In a cruel twist of fate, I was kind of looking at the standings. I'm like, all right, who needs Shane Bieber? Because everyone's like, Cardinals, Orioles, they could use a Shane Bieber this year, and they sure could. You know who could use a Shane Bieber this year that's actually playing up to their potential instead of down? It's the Milwaukee Brewers, the team I thought the Guardians would go and trade for Corbin Burns. But instead, they could trade for Shane Bieber. The Orioles too. But the Brewers have an interesting number of prospects. I would kill for any one of their outfielders. I don't know if they would trade Joey Weimer at this point, but you sure could ask for Joey Weimer. If not, There's Sal Frelick.
Churio or bust. I'm kidding.
You got to get the Churio brothers. Yeah. No, I mean, Sal Frelick would be exciting. I don't think you're going to get Jacob Mizorowski, who, by the way, hit 102 today in one of his starts. That guy is 6'7", 190, and he's throwing 101 miles an hour. Jeez, oh man,
he's 2-pitch. There's some bias. Like everything I said about Whitman kind of goes there.
I know, but he's still fun.
But he had some of the best spin rates in last year's class. I mean, he was definitely a model darling, and I wrote about.
And there's Jefferson Quero in the minors, who's interesting. There's Tyler Black.
Catcher,
Tyler Black is an intro. I know you don't need more infielders, but Tyler Black is interesting. But there's a good mix there. I mean,
you'd have to get either Frelick or Weimer. That's where it's
Weimer has to start there. But I mean, look, the Brewers right now are 27-22. They lead the NL Central. The NL Central stinks too. It's better than the AL Central. But right now they are going with a rotation of Corbin Burns, Colin Ray, Adrian Hauser, Julio Teheran, who I can't believe is still pitching. And by the way, he's only 32, and Freddie Peralta. That team is going to need a starting pitcher at the deadline if they are going to stick in this race. Maybe they'll trade Owen Miller back to the Guardians. They'll be part of the player to be named later deal again. I think if you can ask for Weimer or Frelick, I know Garrett Mitchell's out for the season. That kind of stinks. I was never a big Garrett Mitchell guy anyway. But I'm interested in what the Brewers have to sell since I was so darn. Hey, I would even throw in Keston Hiura. Like, bring him over here and see if you can fix him as like a throw-in on that trade. See if you can. I know the Guardians have been good at fixing those guys, but I'm at least willing to try. So, what team are you interested in?
Part of me, it's like I already brought up my Mets deal. It's like, you always look at the Padres just because of the trading history there. Houston, if they had anything other than Drew Gilbert, they just don't have enough to back that one up because Houston's had their injuries. And I know people would hate that idea.
Drafted Drew Gilbert in the first place.
There's that. I think, a sleeper team in all of this potentially could be Tampa because they've had so many injuries with Rasmussen and
Junior Caminero. Sold. Thank you. We're done. Goodbye.
Well, with Rasmussen and Springs and Shane Baz are all probably could be done for the year. And then you also look at, Glasnow's coming back, but Zach Eflin's been fine. Josh Fleming has been good of late, but I mean, they're relying on Josh Fleming right now. And you look at this team in general, and they're stellar offensively. And they, Josh Lowe was someone that was part of that 16 class. Like I think he was like one pick the pick right before Will Benson, and he's just getting to play now in the big leagues, and he's been awesome for them. And the reason I kind of like this idea is you want to raid Tampa's AAA hitting because outside of like Vidal Brujan, who has missed, and I don't know if you can necessarily get like a Curtis Mead, but like I'd be talking to them about someone like Mead or Manzardo who are close. Like I don't know if they would trade either, but it has to begin with a discussion with one of those two guys. And then you are talking someone like Junior Caminero or Carson Williams. Like it's got to be an A and a B. And this could be the situation where you get Caminero back. And right now, Fino Zach is fully torqued with this trade idea. I feel like.
Hope he stuck around for the video version.
I hope he stuck around. I'll find out tomorrow when he comments. But I think Tampa makes a ton of their time is now, and they've got a great team, and they have been beat to heck with that rotation. They're counting on Glasnow coming back healthy. They're counting on Josh Fleming, and again, Fleming's fine, but he is not. If you could put Bieber with McClanahan and Taj Bradley and Eflin, and it's like they knew they needed pitching, and that was before the injuries. And you are making it harder for you if you make the postseason. But let's face it, if you're trading Bieber, it's because you don't think you're going to make it. Kyle Manzardo is utterly fascinating to me, and I think it would be harder to get Curtis Mead. But like Manzardo is, he's their type, right? He's not. I know people won't love it because it's not necessarily the huge power guy, but he is their type of guy. And then, like, if Mead was healthy, I feel like he would have already been up at this point in time. He's also not a big power guy. They don't have big power guys either. They just have complete hitters. And the reason I want to, the big power guy would be Caminero. The reason I want to raid them is, is anyone better at hitter development? Like, give me one of their AAA prospects because they're likely to be better than anyone else's. And if I need to throw in a reliever, because this is the team that's like designating Zach Birdie for assignment, bringing up Ben Heller and sending him down. Like they're still trying to find stuff in their bullpen. Like I'll pay a little more. I'll do, if they want to try, they'll fix 99. I got a little doubt about that. Look what they've done this year with Kevin Kelly and some other guys. But like, I would, throw in one of the lesser tier relievers as well to help get that across the finish line.
All right. Speaking of Juan Brito, who it does look like he is going to be moving on to AA. What are your thoughts on Brito thus far in Lake County, and when will we see him AA? And technically Tana's in the way, but I don't see Tana being on the 40-man that much longer. Yeah, I think we both agree that Tana is on the chopping block when they need to add McKenzie and Morris back to the 40. I don't think Tana is going off the 40 tomorrow, but
could he?
I don't know. What I'm interested in though is if Brito, it does sound like Brito is going to AA as of 10:30 on Eastern on Thursday night. What are they making room for? Is somebody hurt at Akron? I haven't checked if anybody came out of the game. Is somebody going up to AAA? Because really, like Tana and Martinez are not ready for AAA. So where are they finding playing time from at Akron? And maybe that is a Tana thing. I don't know.
I think Tana's days are limited. I mean, go through and you look at Tana's data. It's, it's what I've complained about with Naylor as well. It's like, which one of these is not like the other? That breakout year where he was awesome in the AFL, he's been living off of that. And since then he's been, below league average for the level. So it's just, I get their physical tools there. Maybe he makes you regret it, but is it like Robert Goebbels where, he gets some time in the big leagues, like 5 years down the line because of the physical tools and not because of what he did in the minors, maybe. But I don't, if you're calling him up, it is interesting from the perspective of like, who's playing shortstop. I guess maybe they have Angel Martinez playing Brito at second base, but
yeah, I mean, I like Martinez at short enough. Brito to me is not a shortstop. No. I like, and speaking of Brito, he wanted us to talk about Brito. He had a home run right-handed yesterday. He got on top of the ball. I have not seen him hit from the right side a ton. The little limited sample I've seen him hit from the right side has not been great. The left-handed swing is way better. So I'm very interested to see about that. But Pat on Guardians of the Future, and he did bring another interesting point that when you are coming up as a teenage athlete in the Dominican at 13, 14, how many left-handers are you really facing? Not a lot. It's left-handers are a low percentage population, and it's just not you're not facing a lot of good lefties too at that level. So he may have been a switch hitter, but he may have never faced the quality of competition as a right-handed hitter. So it could take some time for that right-handed swing to develop. But it is good. He did get on top of a ball for that home run. He does get to all of his power in games. It's fringe average power. But I know everyone wants to compare Juan Brito to Jose Ramirez, and it's a bad comparison because Brito doesn't run like Ramirez. He doesn't field like Ramirez. The only and Ramirez was in the majors by the time Ramirez was in the majors and a year younger than Brito is now, and Brito is just now getting AA. So there's where your comparisons stop. But the one thing you could say is that Brito knows how to turn on a ball. He knows how to hit it in the air to his pull side, doesn't swing and miss, doesn't chase. So, and he walks more and he strikes out. So there's your comparisons right there. But I do think Juan Brito is going to hit. But here's the thing. Juan Brito, for him to be successful, he is going to have to hit because there is not a whole lot else in that profile, unfortunately. Okay.
Yeah.
Arthur H. This is another philosophical question. Why do we hold our prospects so long? We hold on to them too long and give them away. I don't know about give them away. We have zero power in our farm system. Maybe Noel in Columbus and DeLauter when he gets healthy, which he apparently is healthy now. I don't know, Jeff. What do you think about the prospect hugging here?
Well, here's the thing. Baseball, we've talked about, is not linear development. So you have to hold on to prospects because guess what? Most of them hit the majors and fail. That's baseball. Guys get to the majors, they fail. They go back down, they go back up. Jose Ramirez had to go back to the minors multiple times. Corey Kluber, it's like very few guys go up and stay up. And in this case, listen, some of this prospect hugging is they focused on shortstops. And you know why you focus on shortstops? Because when a guy is already a first baseman in high school, that is a terrible sign for their development. Like your best athlete plays shortstop. If you're not the best athlete on your high school team, it's not good for your future. You maybe can draft at other spots, but most guys who like end up playing first base were at one point in time a shortstop. Even in high school, they might have played there. You see a lot of guys shift off that position. And yes, right now they are overloaded with infielders. They've done a good job finding and developing those guys. They've also been kind of lucky with some of these guys like Tana, like Rocchio, that they've gotten internationally in that international class that was so good that they recently had. But is it prospect hugging, or is it just they don't have spots? I mean, one can argue that, like they gave Jake Bowers a nice long run and he failed. But, Yu Chen Chang, we were pretty sure wasn't going to work out, but he didn't even get a long look. To go back to, a guy who was a top 10 prospect. He didn't get a ton of his opportunities. We haven't really seen Arias or Freeman enough to know if either of them are really 100% a big leaguer or not. So, and part of that's because, hey, Andres came back and rebounded so well a year ago, and because Amed has been the dude that, the clubhouse and Tito love, and it's kind of limited chances. So I don't think it's fair to say the prospect hug. They do, and who's the guy they gave away? Owen Miller. And everyone's like, Owen Miller, look what he's doing. Look what Owen Miller did through May a year ago. I had people talking about me not giving him enough credit last May when he was, leading baseball in batting. But we'll see if it continues. But there's no one they've really given away. Lavastida passed through waivers. Connor Pilkington is what Connor Pilkington is. He's a useful. Well,
someone's probably gonna say, like, Yandy Diaz and all that stuff.
Yandy Diaz was someone who just didn't get an opportunity, and you can
point blank.
That's one of those things that you can look at the coaching staff at the time as maybe the worst black mark, where all they did was focus on his negatives and not his positives, and he was never really given a chance. But I don't think, right, it's just a matter of where do you put guys. And then I think if you want to really ding them on anything, it's like, why don't you get these guys a little more flexibility? Like Tampa has guys.
Well, they're doing that now.
They are now, but they wait. Like, Gabby didn't play outfield until this year. Like Freeman, it's like,
I mean, Rocchio is playing all the infield spots except for first base, and Martinez is doing the same thing. So
but
here's my thing on
as much.
Here's my thing on the prospect hugging or whatever. But I don't necessarily think it's hugging so much as, think about this. They thought they were going to get Matt Olson. They thought they had a good shot at him before Freddie Freeman signed with the Dodgers, right? They thought twice they had a deal for Sean Murphy, once last year and then once over the offseason. Presumably one of those infielders, some of those shortstops, some of the guys they've been holding on to in the 40 would have been in that trade. So it's about using some of these guys in the trade. I think their intention had been to use some of these guys in the trade, because we've been talking about it for 3 years now, that they need to move some of these guys in a trade. And shortstops are going to have, I think for the most part they do, but sometimes teams are looking for a specific return like Oakland. But you think that the shortstops are going to be more valuable because of the defense and their, what do they call that, positional, not flexibility, but the positional importance, where if they move, if you're a second baseman and you can't play short, your defensive value kind of takes a downshift. So if you get a guy in international or whatever, and he's a shortstop, like look at, I know Junior San Quentin hasn't worked out, but think about that. They signed Junior San Quentin as a shortstop, and he grew big. He upgraded the position. He moved to first base. That's okay because he started at shortstop. It's a little different when you take a guy who is just is a first baseman to start, right? When you sign a John Kenton, the positional difference makes a big deal because there's nowhere else to go down, right? He's already at the lowest end of the spectrum defensively. So presumably shortstops are more valuable in the trade market if they can play shortstop, because they can go somewhere else. And so I think they've been trying to move some of these guys. So I don't think it's that maybe it's not they've been trying to hold on to them. It's that they were hoping to trade some of them, and a trade just hasn't worked out because, I don't know, teams didn't want Brian Rocchio. They wanted Tanner Bybee or Logan Allen, and Cleveland said no. And those are the guys you want to hold on to.
People want elite traits. And for as much as I love Rocchio, there isn't necessarily a 70 grade anywhere.
No, I think that's what 60 defense is what I would say. Which
it's like, and I think that's one thing, like we saw, why did Oakland want Ruiz? 80 grade speed. This is not a team with guys in the minors that have 70 grade traits. It's more balanced, or
except for the pitchers, maybe, right?
Yeah, but that's where we run into that issue.
Right. So maybe it's not necessarily holding on to these guys so much as they're trying to find the right trade and they just haven't, because this should have happened by now. Arthur R.H. did have a second part of that question. He wanted to know why they keep drafting middle infielders and outfielders with no power. Do you think they will change their philosophy on position players? I kind of think they have. I think
they've drafted more of those corner guys, but they're not going to start drafting like, power only types.
No Spencer Joneses. Yeah. None of those guys. Yeah. So probably not. Scott Hauser wants.
I think I already said, why with infielders, because they move off the base.
Yeah. Scott Hauser wanted to know your second highest rated Big Ten player behind Shaw, and why is it Mitch Jebb? I'm saying, why is it Mitch Jebb?
No, Mitch. That's the thing. Big Ten's actually pretty strong this year. Mitch Jebb is probably like fourth. Bryce Matthews.
Did we even say Matt Shaw is not even the best player on his own team?
Well, statistically, when I talked about Nick LaPrusa, I mentioned that he's being outperformed, but he's definitely the best prospect. I think it's 2 and 3 are Bryce Matthews is probably number 2, the shortstop from Nebraska. He's a little bit of a better athlete. Max Anderson's just destroying baseballs, doing it in all parts. Like, if Max Anderson is there in round 2, he is very much a Guardians target. Was really good on the Cape, good contact. We talked about him before, but those are 2 and 3. And Mitch Jebb, who could be a Guardians target, is number 4. Big Ten's top 4 is as good as it's ever been. Ohio State's got Isaiah Coupe and Cade Kern that are more like day 2 guys, but even they have multiple draft eligible guys that are interesting. So, but Anderson and Matthews could sneak into round 1 and it wouldn't shock me. Let me put it that way. So it's a good year in the Big Ten.
Yes. We've talked a lot of questions. We're in an hour. Let's take a quick pause here and maybe throw in another thank you to our sponsor. Hey, don't be an idiot. Make sure that you are keeping track of who you're subscribing to, what apps you're subscribing to, what streaming service you're subscribing to. Maybe you want to quit the gym like Joey and Chandler did. See, if you get that reference, let me know, because otherwise I'm old.
I got it.
You got it. I know, but you're older than me. So that, if you're younger than me and you get that reference, please let me know. If you want to quit the gym, if you want to quit Disney, you want to quit Netflix, Rocket Money is your way to go. It is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills all in one place. Stop throwing your money away. Cancel those unwanted subscriptions. Manage your expenses the easy way. Go to rocketmoney.com/LockedOnMLB, rocketmoney.com/LockedOnMLB, rocketmoney.com/LockedOnMLB.
And kids get that reference. Kids love it as much as ever. Like, so many of my students wear Fred shirts. So yeah, you're good.
You gave it away. Way to go. My favorite show growing up as a kid. Okay. Let's get back to our friends around the coffee table, as it were. Nolan Dasick.
Coffee right here.
Yes.
In my Locked On mug.
10:45 at night. Where's your bird dogs tumbler? Come on.
That's at school. It's in my school thermos. It's cold in my little
What is in that
fridge.
thermos, Jeff? What is in that thermos?
It's coconut water. Coconut water. So
you guys always talk about
throughout the day.
Nolan said you guys always talk about when a prospect is ready, they usually promote him. Thinks that Naylor's not ready yet. I disagree in some ways. What about Rocchio? What does he have left to prove in AAA?
Nothing.
It's opportunity.
It's numbers. Yeah, he's the guy where it's, they haven't given. I mean, Gavi's playing well. It's like the first time he's really getting a good solid look because he had health issues a year ago. Freeman had health issues, a year ago too. He had a late start to the year. So, and that's been the annoyance. It's like back when this team was terrible and I had my free Yu Chen Chang period. I'm just going to keep throwing references in there to him. He was hurt and he didn't get the opportunity because he didn't line up, and we were stuck with Max Morehoff out there. Like, it's been this unfortunate situation when there's the time for these guys to get opportunities. We've had more injuries in the upper minors than the lower minors, and it stinks.
Yeah, I think the only thing you can really nitpick at is the power. He is playing in a ballpark that is conducive to power, and he has one home run. Maybe you want to see him get the ball out more, but that's not really his game.
No, I think he's a 40 grade power guy at best. I mean, that's just me. I don't even think he's
home
average.
runs. Yeah, it's 15 homers, maybe 20 if you're on a good year, but that's really not much to pick at. We got a two, almost 3-parter from Real Marlin GM as we wrap up today's show. Does Rosario's status on the roster have more to do with the relationship of Jose or the lack of shortstops coming this offseason? Yeah, I think we talked about the top of the show, right? If you listen to the audio version of this.
If he was a dick, he wouldn't be here.
Yeah, I don't think they would have traded for him in the first place. Look, he did have some makeup concerns in New York before they traded him. There were some feelings that he wore out his welcome. That has not been the case here in Cleveland. Yeah, it is the Jose thing. It is a leadership thing. I don't know about the lack of shortstops coming this offseason. It's more about look, because if they decided to move on from Rosario,
I think he was thinking like, that he had more trade value. Like, is he still here because that the free agent, he was going to be the star of the free agent class? I think it's all about the relationship.
Not happening now. I mean, he still will be. Well, it depends on what happens with Tim Anderson, but he still might be the best shortstop on the market. But it's going to be a pretty ugly one. All right, part 2 from Real Marlin GM. Wants to know about maybe moving Rosario to the leadoff spot, oddly enough, because it gives you assurance from while eliminating the double play when Juan reaches base. I've said this before, okay?
Yeah, I'd be down with this.
Yeah, at least he can ground a double play still, but when he grounds a double play, you've got Straw on and probably or Brennan, and then you got
and you know
Rosario.
What? Then let Straw run and Brennan run too. Like let's just set it up so like let those guys run.
Nine or 1. It's got to be 9 or 1, I think, for Rosario if he's going to keep playing. Move him down to 9. I wouldn't be opposed to him hitting first against lefties, especially. Yeah, that would be a good way to go.
By the way, Andrew Walters just nailed down the game for Miami baseball.
ACC,
so I didn't get to talk about him, but he 2.1 shutout innings to do that. So we'll talk about Andrew Walters soon.
All right. Well, that is all that we have for today. It has been a long show. Hope you enjoyed it and wrapped up the week. Everybody have a good Memorial Day weekend if you're off.
And we'll be back on Tuesday. We get to take a day as well on Monday for the holiday typically.
Oh, well, okay, sure, works for me.
Yeah, no, we've always if it's a bank holiday, there's no one to produce or do things, so it's always been the thing. So we're gonna take a long one for ourselves, recoup.
We gave you an hour and 6 minutes today, though.
Today to balance it out. So enjoy this show. We'll be in and out on Twitter, I'm sure, and I know we will be. He like you're not here. Justin and I will be texting angrily as his team probably blows another weekend series.
I'll be at the game Friday, so
I will not. I'm in Milwaukee, so it's just not feasible.
Just waiting for you to come home for that trip home.
Yeah, July. I'll be home in July to hopefully catch a game and figure some things out. But listen, thank you to everyone who stuck with us. Comment below. Let us hear. Well, no one's going to hear this. I said it at the wrong time. But when you quit on this podcast, when did you finally give up? Put your tap out time if you didn't make it to the end. But now you're here at the end, so there's no point to that. Thank you to everyone for being part of the Locked On Guardians team. We want to empty that mailbag, do that fan engagement. So we appreciate all everyone is doing, and we're good to say, go Guardians, go. Let's try and win a series. 2 out of the last 10. Let's make it 3 out of 11.